2023, African startups secured a total funding of about $2.9 billion, marking the lowest amount since 2020's 2.1, representing a 39% decrease from the around 4.6 billion total recorded in 2022, according to data from funding tracker, The Big Deal. On a quarterly basis, if we take a look at those figures, we'll see from going from Q1 all the way through to Q4, a decline, 1.2 billion, 877 million, 492, and then 551. So there's a whole lot to talk about as far as funding is concerned. Iyin Aboyeji, who is the founding partner, the Fund for Africa's Future, aka Future Africa, joins us now to discuss. Iyin, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Great to have you. Yeah,
So
last time we had you, it was a virtual interview, right? So it's good to have you live. So much to talk about. What would you make of those numbers as far as that decline is concerned?
I mean, it's to be expected, right? Like, I mean, we had a global funding inflation problem. Where funding highs were all highs because of interest rates, and of course, as interest rates start to increase, general risk levels start to kick in, and people are starting to decelerate funding growth. But I think it's a good thing that we're actually seeing the bump. Ultimately, all that has happened is that a lot of the capital that was tourist capital, that was capital that really wasn't destined for this market, but just found it opportunistic to invest here, has left. And now there's capital for real entrepreneurs, for people who are really trying to solve problems to actually invest. And with the devaluation, it's actually more of that capital. I mean, if you put those numbers in Naira, there's really no change. And it's the Naira that really matters at the end of the day. So I really see this as an opportunity for the right kind of businesses to get the capital they need to solve real problems.
Okay, great. Now, speaking of that capital, I mean, you've got the bank of mom and dad, you've got bank loans, and then accelerators. What can accelerators carry the load?
Well, I mean, I don't know that like our accelerator, for example, Accelerate Africa, we're not designed to give companies cash.
Okay.
We're designed to help them accelerate and access cash, but we're not designed to give companies cash. The people who actually give companies cash are called venture capitalists. And we happen to be also venture capitalists. The Fund for Africa's Future is a 100 billion Naira venture capital fund, assets under management. And we have even now 50 billion Naira that we're going to be handing over the next 3 to 4 years, even as the market is so bad. Half of that capital is dedicated to Nigeria.
Okay.
So there is money available. And we're the smallest, just because we like to return capital. A lot of our other, I know a lot of our colleagues, like Ventures Platform, they have a much larger fund than we do, probably something like 80 billion Naira. We know there's Partech. They just raised a $300 million fund.
Wow.
So there's a lot of money available for the businesses that actually get it right. The question now is, who's going to help them get it right? And that's what an accelerator is there to help answer.
So what makes you stand out there from the others?
I actually did it before.
You've got the experience,
Exactly.
You know what it's like.
I know, and not just me, actually. I think there's a bunch of things actually that I'm just saying. I mean, the first thing is we're operators, so we've done this before. But the other thing that we're doing that's really, really special is that we're bringing operators from all over the world that have a keen interest for Africa, that have a lot of experience building world-class products. People like Oji Udezwe, he used to be Chief Product Officer at Calendly, he used to be Chief Product Officer at Typeform. Because for us, our vision with the businesses that we're admitting to Accelerator are businesses that are actually founded in Nigeria but built for the world. So it's really important to us that these businesses can be world class. We're bringing, people that were super high level founding team members at Flutterwave, at Andela, at all the businesses that we've been part of.
You were involved in,
all that I was involved in, all the investors that played a part in that journey, they're all going to be mentors or speakers at the Accelerator. And we're going to literally, I'm going to be sitting down in Lagos. My partner Mia Kimani, who also is a very experienced operator. She mentored Daystar. She mentored quite a number of companies. She sold her company Duka Connect to MasterCard in 2018.
Oh, wow.
She's going to be mentoring startups out of Nairobi. And quite literally, we're literally pouring all of that into the startups that we bring into the program. So
beyond the idea that a startup has to solve a particular problem, the use case, as you folks like to call it, what else is needed to be able to, make them shiny and nice in front of
Actually, the idea
capital?
is not important.
It's not.
It's not. What's really important is finding a problem that customers badly want to solve.
Okay.
Right? The idea is it changes.
Yeah,
Right? It changes. It's like shirts.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
You
yeah.
wear one today, you wear one tomorrow.
Gotcha.
But what's important is, can you find a problem that customers badly want to solve, and can you find the customers who are willing to pay to solve that problem? And that's where we focus. That's
Yeah.
where we spend all our time.
Okay, I've asked every guest about this all throughout today now,
Yes.
since we're still talking about solving problems.
Yes.
National Assembly, I'm not going to
Yes.
let this thing go. This blackout that
It's
we saw.
important. It's important. Don't let it go.
What can... It's just something else.
Well, I think...
Yeah, how can startups solve this power problem, or are we overwhelmed?
See, all the problems we face in Nigeria, only startups can solve them.
Yeah?
That's the one thing that we have to learn. And until we learn it, we're always going to keep dealing with all these, bringing gun out for Binance, all this stuff. The point is, it's not going to solve the problem,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Startups can solve all these problems. Startups can innovate us out of this economic crisis that we're facing, including with power.
Yeah.
I'll give you a practical example. We backed a company called Home in South Africa. When South Africa was started to have their blackout issues,
yeah.
right? We backed a company called Home. And what does Home do? Home literally basically finances homes with solar, right?
Yeah.
Arranges the bank loan, picks the vendors, brings them all together so they can implement, and then allows them to pay. There are incredible startups in Nigeria. I met one yesterday called Rana, out of Techstars, Lagos. Okay. There's a lot of other startups that I know, Sun Systems, Energy. They can solve this problem for National Assembly. Our National Assembly should not need power from the grid, right? It shouldn't necessarily need power from how many hours are they there?
Right.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, there are ways to solve these problems.
Yeah.
If the government is willing to tap into the innovation that the startups have. And same thing with the FX crisis, right? There are ways to solve these problems, but we don't have to go the way that we're currently going, where we're trying to use blunt force to solve systemic issues.
Yeah.
We can actually innovate our way out of these problems, innovate our way into greater productivity, so that we can actually have a society that works well for everybody. But if we choose blunt force or imported ideas, then we're just going to keep running around in circles.
Right. Well said. So you mentioned the FX issues. I mean, does that, with where the exchange rate is, inflation, does that affect the valuation of these startups? And
I would argue that it actually puts startups in a much better position, because the vast majority of the capital in the industry is raised in dollars. So what that generally means is that, a $30 million fund is a 50 billion naira fund, right? So if you're investing in Nigeria, you're getting far better bang for your buck if you have a focus on being productive.
Right.
Now, if you've decided to go the way of, spending dollars, importing talent, importing servers, you don't want to use any local products, you don't want to care about local innovation, you want to live in London and run your business in Lagos, then sure, the exchange rate is horrible for you because your customers pay naira.
Yeah.
But if you're a business that actually cares about productivity and wants to leverage your technology and your innovation to improve productivity, it's the best time for you. And we're seeing businesses like that. Businesses that are so good that they're building incredible businesses in naira and so efficient that they're able to even export that technology and earn dollars elsewhere in the world. And we're backing many of these companies. We're finding and backing these companies.
Great stuff. So you would say that there is enough local homegrown talent for the tech space here in Africa, here in Nigeria?
I wouldn't say there is enough, right?
Okay,
I think that's, 3MTT by Minister Bosun Tijani, it really highlights the fact that there isn't enough, right? But I think there is an opportunity to create more, right? Our university, young people in the universities are there, right? They need to learn how to engage with the digital economy so they can earn Forex for the country. And that's the only way that if we want our currency to come down, it will. I don't want it to come down, partially because I think it's actually better for exports, right? But the reality of the matter is that this is getting our young people to be productive in the digital economy, in manufacturing, in creative industry, whatever it is, that is the only way. And we need more talent doing that. And we don't have enough talent. We will never have enough talent to do
Okay, so you mentioned education. What about the curriculums and how do you...
I think right now, look, I don't know any young person in my circle who's looking to their university to actually tell them what to learn.
Right.
I think what's really important is really, and it's really programs like 3MTT that the young people are focused on. They're spending their time learning web development and so on. The problems they're having is that they don't have the devices, they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the internet connectivity to be able to do this well. And that's where an area where government can really step up, right? By using innovative technology like solar panels that are well established. You can create distributed infrastructure for learning, right? Even starting from our universities, right? There's no reason why there aren't programs in our universities that help young people learn how to build software while they are on campus. We usually wait too late. After they've left campus, they now have real pressures, real costs, and there's nobody to employ them.
Yeah.
Why not teach them how to earn right from university? And then things like this loan program and things like that would actually make sense, because when they leave school, they have skills that they can deploy globally so they can repay those loans.
Have you worried about the JACPA situation where the talent is being poached from Nigeria and going overseas?
I mean, the way I look at it is that it's not a question of worry. It's a reality.
Yeah.
And it's not a reality just for Nigeria. It's a reality everywhere on the continent. And I think the most unfortunate thing about it is that there's a lot of young people that are still here that don't even have those options that we are ignoring in the process.
Right.
The response to JACPA is not stopping people from going. It's creating more talent. There are a lot more young people that want to be great nurses, great doctors, great developers, so that they have an opportunity to JACPA.
Right.
Why don't we invest in putting a pipeline? The other thing that worries me about it is that we are not negotiating these JACPA agreements properly. We should look at our peers, countries like Philippines, even Ghana.
Right.
Negotiates with other countries and says, you know what, I'm letting my people go, but they benefited from government-funded, a taxpayer-funded education. Please, so that I can train the next batch that are going to replace these guys. Is it possible for you to give me maybe 5% or 10% of their income? I am sure many governments abroad would be like, absolutely, I would do that. And then the third thing really is coordination. In the midst of this JACPA syndrome, this is a time for corporates to really band together and say, you know what, we're all teaching the same digital banking. We're all teaching the same, why do we even need to have different training schools for different banks? Is it necessary?
Right.
Can we just go and take all that money that we used to build our fancy training schools, dump it in University of Lagos School of Banking and Finance and make it world class? That is the kind of conversation that real countries will be having right now. But our elite are, they're what they are.
So they're what they are. Because God, I have so many questions for you. AI, with where Nigeria is now, we're talking about National Assembly and blackouts, and people are trying. Is the AI conversation in Nigeria too far ahead, or can we walk and chew gum at the same time?
Yeah, we have to, because we're so far behind. And the problem with AI is really a problem of peering around the corner. You have this technology that is coming that will literally take away all the use for our productive labor. So we have two options. We wait for the AI to come and destroy us, basically take away all these jobs that we're training people for, or we teach our kids day one how to use the AI so that they are resilient against that force that's coming. And the beautiful thing about AI is that AI still needs humans. There's a book that I read when I was much younger, when I was working in Silicon Valley, called Man-Machine Symbiosis by Lick Leader. It's an incredible book. You should read it. Okay. And that book basically talks about how ultimately, and this was a book written in the 70s,
wow.
The best systems are when a human being does what a human being can do well, and a machine does what a machine can do well. So these systems will always need human beings. So we need to train our young people to be AI relevant, so that they can leverage these AI tools to be even more productive. And the beautiful thing about it, by doing that, we lower barriers to productivity. What a doctor needs to do, is only able to do after 25 years of education, we can actually train young people, which we don't have that time to do it within 4 years, because they're able to leverage these AI tools to be able to deliver some level of care. Right? Maybe not the experts of the experts, but they can do something. So think about how that transfers, even writing, right? Before, we had to teach them Queen's English and teach them to write over a long period of time. With AI, they might not need to be super expert at every subject before they can deliver some general level of content at it.
Wow. Okay, just less than a minute to go. What's your outlook for the tech ecosystem, Nigeria, Africa? How do you see things?
I think right now, the one thing that the tech ecosystem has always said is that we are solution providers. And somehow I feel like right now, the government, the people are not leveraging us enough, right? I think that there is an opportunity for us to really contribute to solving a lot of these national problems at a very big scale. And I know the minister is doing a very good job of bringing solutions to the table. And many more of us want to contribute. But I think that there's so many of these problems where big, bold investments and conversations about the digital economy can really solve. And a focus there would make more sense, in my opinion, than a lot of these other things that we're doing. Because the reality of our particular situation is without energy, manufacturing is a no-go for us. Our oil industry is a little bit in rebuild mode, right? Because all the majors have gone, and it will still take time for the locals to kind of find their feet.
Right.
The only thing we have as a country is tons of young people. So let's prioritize those conversations about connectivity. Let's prioritize those conversations about digital infrastructure. Let's prioritize the conversation about broadband and get some revenue in. Otherwise, we're just going to continue chasing our tail.
Iyin Aboyeji, founding partner of the Future Africa Fund. Look, it's a pleasure having you to talk technology. I'm going to have you back because we got to see how the Accelerator does and so on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Iyin.